All right, welcome back to the Amato Report. UFO sightings. We all hear about them all the time, don't we? We hear about sightings here and sightings there, and there's going to be a conclusion, something that demonstrates exactly what they are, and then we hear nothing. The government is supposed to unveil its conclusions, what it knows. We always hear that, and then we hear nothing. What is going on and what are they? My guest has some expert insight. He is an award-winning documentary filmmaker. He's author of Rings of Disclosure, Following the Trail of Extraterrestrials in the End Times. Let's welcome L.A. Marzulli. L.A., good to have you with us.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me on, Rick.
So, why do you think do you think the U.S. government knows what these sightings are, and they're just not telling us?
Well, we have to define what the government is. Actually, Anna Paulina Luna came out today and saying that what she was meeting in a skiff will now be revealed to the public. There's going to be a formal announcement. We also know from the book or from the film, a documentary film, which came out last year around Thanksgiving, Age of Disclosure, where you've got senators, congressmen, congresswomen, scientists, physicists, admirals, generals, all coming on the record stating we're not alone in the universe. And, stating on the record that we have crashed craft over 10 in the United States. So, I mean, they know what's going on.
Why do you think that former presidents won't? When Barack Obama was asked directly, and he kind of skips around it. And recently he said, "No, I don't think there's life."
Well, he backpedaled. Yeah, he walked it back. But originally, he's back kind of leaning on the chair, kind of smug, and he just looks right at the camera and says, "Yes, right." And then he walks it back a little bit later. It's
Yeah. And Trump, who's about as outspoken and direct and in your face as I don't mean that disrespectfully, but you know what I mean. He doesn't hold back. He hasn't said anything. Why do you think U.S. presidents aren't coming out and saying it?
Most presidents, first of all, it says it's in the Age of Disclosure. And as a ufologist, I've known about this for decades. There's a need to know about this phenomena, and these presidents don't have a need to know. And so they're not briefed on it. I mean, they are not briefed on it. For instance, when was the last president that went to Area 51? To the best of my knowledge, no president has been there since perhaps Richard Nixon, and even that is like up in the air, where he may have taken Jackie Gleason, and showed him the bodies. That's, I get it, but that's also in Spielberg's new film.
So Trump has said there's going to be briefed on it. You saying he hasn't?
I think he's been briefed on it. I don't know to what extent. I think we might see something in the next 48 hours. I mean, who knows? Or in a few days from now, July 7th is the 79th anniversary of the Roswell incident, which, by the way, was a crash craft. There's no doubt about that. Here's a piece of metal that I discovered in the debris field in Roswell, right there. It was buried about 8 inches underground, and we've had it analyzed. It's an aluminum alloy between two known aluminum alloys. It goes like this. It bounces back and forth. And this is all on film. So I had two guys, Chuck Sikowski, Frank Kimbler, and my business partner, Gil Zimmerman. We filmed the whole thing. Frank has got his metal detector. He goes, I got a hit. We actually show him digging down. The soil is completely undisturbed. He digs down 8 inches and he pulls out the metal. And there it is. It's in the film. So it was not a weather balloon. We've known about this for decades. It was a cover up. And people have come forward basically stating that, Roswell was a real event. It was, in fact, the Spielberg film shows it. And just real quick, in the third trailer, the final trailer of a Spielberg film, Steven Spielberg looks right at the camera and goes, I used to think to myself, wouldn't it be great if the American people found out that all of this was true? Then it cuts to another scene in the film. Then the camera cuts back to Spielberg, who looks right at the camera and says, it's all true. And in that film, he has Roswell, Kecksburg, Eisenhower, and the Three Grays signing the treaty at Holloman Air Force Base, and Gleason, Jackie Gleason and Nixon looking at the bodies. It's all true? Those are his words, not mine. But as a ufologist, all that stuff is part of ufology. And those of us who have been immersed in this for decades believe that's exactly what came down.
You are a documentary filmmaker, an award-winning one, an award-winning documentary filmmaker. For those who may not be familiar with you, what brings, because you have some strong, interesting opinions on this. What is your credibility on this topic?
Well, it's like anything. I have 16 books and 34 films. Here's a 10 DVD box set that we did everything from Close Encounters of the First, Second, Third, and Fourth Kind, the abduction phenomena, cattle mutilations, crop circles, two films on Roswell. We've been to the debris field. We pulled out the metal. We were the only Christian ministry ever to remove an implant from a boy who was abducted when he was 5 years old. That's right. He was taken against his will and abducted and then implanted with a very small piece of metal that basically cloaked itself. There's no entrance wound. This is in a whole film that we did on this. And there was a whole protocol that the late Dr. Roger Lear had instigated, installed to make sure that, no hoaxers, this is it. So x-rays, CAT scans, ultrasounds, the whole gamut of testing. If this thing was giving off a radio frequency, we removed it. It's all on film. It's all on film.
What ultimately happened to that 5-year-old boy?
Well, that was Emil. He was taken at 5 years old. We're removing the implant when he's 45. And I had breakfast with him about 4 or 5 days ago. Yeah, we meet every couple of months.
What does he say his experience? Does he remember anything from that
Oh,
experience?
absolutely. Absolutely. It's all in the film. We have 2 men and 2 women who come on our film and abductions. I mean, this is, you say what qualifies me? We've got films and books and, runs of disclosure. I mean, it's real investigative journalism. My gosh. In our film on abduction, 2 men, 2 women. The 2 men, sperm is taken from the men, ovum is taken from the women. Sometimes the women are taken and they find themselves pregnant. Brett Baer on Fox News did a report on this, which became one of the rungs of disclosure.
Wow.
Some women who are taken aboard UFO, this is his headline. This is Brett Baer. This is Brett Baer on Fox News. You can't get a more conservative stand-up guy than Brett Baer in the entire universe. He's telling us that the abduction phenomena and the breeding program is real. That's what he's telling us.
The breeding is just, I was not aware of that. Now you say this is significant. Everything you've said is significant.
Thank you.
You say that you believe that not only are these extraterrestrials exist, but they are demons.
Okay, we have to back that up.
Okay.
That's first of all, what is a demon? A demon is the disembodied spirit of a Nephilim. What are a Nephilim?
Right.
The Nephilim are found in the Bible. They are the progeny of fallen angels and
Oh.
human women. So when fallen angels mate with a human woman, they get a byproduct, which is called the Nephilim. The disembodied spirits of the Nephilim are the demons that wander the earth. So what we're looking at is demonic is too shallow of a word
Yeah,
to use.
yeah,
Most people use that. What we're looking at, the overarching umbrella, the tent, it's a Luciferian phenomena. It's a Luciferian phenomena. That's what we're looking at.
How did you come to this conclusion?
Decades of study, talking to abductees, seeing what goes on, watching the cat and mouse game. When you talk to an abductee for the first time, it's very chilling because it's the deep end of the pool. And for a normal person, there's nothing in your wheelhouse that prepares you to even process the information of what you're hearing. And that goes back for me into the 90s when I talked to my first abductee.
How many abductees have you spoken to? And the reason I'm asking this question is you would think, would you not, LA, you would think that abductees would be a part of the mainstream media focus, or people have been interviewed. You never see abductees interviewed in the mainstream media.
And there's a reason for it.
It's here.
Because it's the deep end of the pool, and the information is so disturbing that people can't get their heads around it because it's a breeding program. And people don't understand. Dr. David Jacobs, I mean, I interviewed him years ago. He has a book called Walking Amongst Us, and he interviewed abductees. And he talks about this. He was trained by John Mack, and so he's interviewing these people, these abductees for the first time, and he's thinking to himself, this is like his patient 1, patient 2, patient 10, patient 15. He's thinking to himself, they all have something in common, but they have it's like a psychosis here. And then he gets to the point where, and this is on film, where I interview him, where he goes, and all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute. They're all telling me the same story. There's no collusion between these people. They're not mentally unstable. Oh my gosh, the phenomenon is real. And he walked around in a daze for 6 months, he said. He said, in a daze, trying to get his head around it. And see, that's the problem. As a ufologist, I've been studying this for decades. I've seen 4. But as a Christian, I can take this and plug it into the biblical prophetic narrative. And then it all makes sense. And the biblical prophetic narrative starts in Genesis 3:15. Most people have no idea what that is. You got Adam and Eve over here in the garden. Something is drastically changed. They're hiding from the Lord. Their DNA is changed, in my opinion. You got the Nakash, the shiny one over here, the dragon, Satan. So you got Adam and Eve in here. You got the dragon here. You got the pre-incarnate Christ who shows up in the garden and declares this. And this, in my opinion, this one sentence is the gateway to the entire biblical prophetic narrative. And I got this from Gary Stearman, my elder brother. And Jesus says to the dragon, your seed, your offspring, your seed, your offspring will be at war, at enmity with the seed, the offspring of the woman. The one coming from the woman, the proto-evangelion, the Messiah, will crush your head, you'll bruise his heel. That's the whole Bible. It's a seed war. It's a seed war.
Wow.
I know. I was the same way. The first time I heard that, I went, because how do you get your head around that? It's the deep end of the pool. There's nothing in our wheelhouses that even prepare us to process the information.
On the other side of the equation, do I have this wrong? Steven Spielberg's movie Disclosure says that we are the demons and the extraterrestrials are from heaven.
Yeah, he's basically flipped the script. And the rebuttal to that is, and no spoiler alert because it's all in the trailers, okay? So what he does, he shows this, and I called it right from the get-go, having studied it. So you see the stag, a deer, a stag, and the stag is there with a raccoon and a fox in this little girl's room. And the little girl follows the stag. And she's walking in the snow. This beautiful gingerbread house is all lit up. Well, first of all, the stag is not a stag. And second of all, that gingerbread house is a UFO that's presenting itself as a gingerbread house to lure the little girl in. The stag is a gray, and this is shown in the 3rd trailer, so I'm not giving away the movie. It's in the trailer. And it shows the stag's eye, and as the stag turns, we see it's the eye of a gray. This is deception on steroids. These entities are deceiving, presenting itself as this warm, benevolent animal with the raccoon and the fox too. They're all walking together towards a gingerbread house. They are deliberately deceiving this little girl, and nobody finds fault with that. Are you kidding me? And there's no parental consent form. Yes, you can take my daughter and bring her to the judge. It's not there. And then she's on the table, and they do the unthinkable, and somehow the ends justify the means. Not by the...
How do you believe that they are walking amongst us right now? These demons from extraterrestrials?
The hybrids are walking amongst us, and that's the title of Dr. David Jacobs' book. Hybrids are walking amongst us. In our film, we've interviewed again Al Matthews, who was taken at a very early age, 5 or 6. He was abducted numerous times. He was violated numerous times. Sperm was taken from him when he was old enough. His entire car was taken up into the ship at one time. All this is in our films. This is why it's so important to get this information out. Al has an encounter with this woman. He's a professional mover, and he's tasked with moving this woman. She just comes in from Kuwait. She's got a shipping container, and he's on the elevator with this woman. Well, she's a pretty gal and dressed very elegantly, but she's got these dark, like wrap around, almost like swimmer goggles on, covering her eyes, which, Al just doesn't say anything about it and just gives it a pass. So she's still got these goggles on. They're in the freight elevator going up together, and she leans over and she goes, "They're listening, Al." He's never met this woman before. He goes, "Who's listening?" "Oh, the Grays. You and I were supposed to meet on the ship. I know you've been taken many times." And Al's like freaking out. And at the end of this whole day with her, he gives this woman his phone number, and she calls him daily to try to lure him up. And he finally succumbs and goes up to this woman. She's at a friend's house. They're drinking wine out of these huge goblets. Okay. And they're out on the porch, and Al sits down, and there's a deer fly that lands on the side of the glass, the goblet of wine, a very large fly. And Al goes, "I'll get it." And she goes, No, I got it." But she doesn't reach down and pick up the fly. She reaches down with her index finger, and the fly sticks to her index finger, and she brings it up to her mouth. She doesn't eat it. She goes and sucks it in. And at this point, Al's completely freaked out. She takes off the glasses and goes over to Al. We call this UFO brain fog, because she's now dealing with an entity that's not human. He doesn't know this yet. So this woman has taken off her glasses, and she goes in and she sits on Al. So they're face to face. And, that in itself is bizarre. But again, he's got what we call UFO brain fog. He's not, something is going on, and he's trying to process what's. So in the interview with him, I go, "Al, is this normal behavior for you?" And he's like, "No one's ever asked him that before." And he goes, no, I have a girlfriend. This isn't normal behavior. And she goes to kiss him. He pushes her off of him, and she lands on the floor. And as she falls, the eyes shapeshift, and they become serpentine-like eyes with like yellow flecks in them. And she lets out the most evil laugh you've ever heard in your life. And Al flees from the scene. He's not a Christian at this time. He calls me up on the phone. He goes to a mutual friend. They call me up. He's in Canada, Vancouver. I'm in Los Angeles area. And we kind of talk him off the ledge. We give him resources. 2 weeks later, he becomes a Christian. The abductions stop. Now, he still sees the ships, just like the other abductees. They know when they're around. They can pick up on it. So the hybrids are real. They're walking amongst us. And this all hails back to the Genesis 3:15 narrative. I mean, it's ancient prophecy. And here's something else to think about it, that in Daniel 2:43, so this is thousands of years ago, all this was written. This angel, this good guy, appears to Daniel and goes, "Dan, seal up the words of the book to the time of the end." Then he tells you exactly what the time of the end is going to look like. Men and women will run to and fro over the face of the earth. Knowledge will increase. Well, everything's flatlined to modernity. As we are speaking, men and women run to and fro over the face of the earth. Knowledge increases now with AI hourly. It's crazy where we are. Jesus warns us it'll be like the days of Noah. Right? What differentiates the days of Noah, the Nephilim, the mixing of the seed? Goes back to Genesis.
When you say that today men and women are running to and fro the face of the earth, what do you mean by that?
Airplanes. As we are speaking, thousands of airplanes are running all over the face of the earth. That's unprecedented. Go back to Orville and Wilbur. That's not that long ago, a little over 100 years, for crying out loud. And here we are. It's just unbelievable. And the angel says to Daniel that their seed will mingle. There's that word seed again. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. The word cleave is the word we have for marriage. There's no marriage contract. They just take what they want. They're mingling the seed in the latter days, in the end time. This is what we see now. This is what's happening. The mingling of the seed. And what does it do? It goes back to the Genesis 3:15 narrative. And when Jesus said to be like the days of Noah, what is he talking about? The mingling of the seed. That's why the flood happens, because the fallen angels come down, they mingle their seed, they create the hybrid beings known as the Nephilim. Everything gets screwed up to the nines, and that's the reason for the flood. But you're not taught that, because it's all hidden. It's all hidden away.
And why is it hidden? I know I asked this earlier.
Because if you keep that away from people, they never know the truth. They never understand it's a seed war. They don't understand that the seed war will happen in the latter days, which is what we see now. They don't understand the entire, really, the thrust of the biblical narrative.
But why would the government hide that?
No, not the government. Well, let me put it to you this way. The other side of the aisle, the dark side, does not want people like you, like me, to know the truth about the seed war. They don't, because if you keep that away, you never really understand the Bible, never understand what's written.
And why do you think the Catholic religion ousted one of their members for saying that aliens are demons?
Bingo. Why do you think? Let me flip it. I mean, why would they do that? Because this guy's revealing the truth and they don't like that. Again, he's using the wrong word. It's Luciferian. Demons are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. And I get that. But he's hitting a nail right on the head. He's targeting the dark side. And so the Vatican is already on board saying, oh, there's extraterrestrials. We're not alone. We'll baptize them if they show up, all this other stuff. And this is why age of disclosure is so poignant, because you've got congressmen, congresswomen, scientists, physicists, a whole array of people, all really smart people, saying we're not alone in the universe. Everybody's in lockstep with this one idea. We're not alone in the universe. We're not alone in the universe. Well, what if we are alone in the universe? What if this whole thing is just one big holographic deck and we don't know it? Because nobody knows what this is, and nobody knows where we are in it. Nobody. Let me ask you this. Where are you right now? You're in a studio and you're in your little physical, three-dimensional, biological body, just like me. You're breathing, the eyes blink, the heart pumps, and you're in it. But where are you? Where does your consciousness reside? Nobody knows. Nobody has a clue. Where does your spirit man, your soul, where does it reside? Nobody has any idea. This is why it's so mysterious. So we don't know where we are in the universe, and I don't think these are extraterrestrials. These are interdimensional entities with a very nefarious agenda, and that nefarious agenda is being played out.
All right, L.A. Marzulli, we're out of time right now. I appreciate you joining me. Covered obviously a lot. We need to have you back.
I'd love to. Are you kidding me?
We'll bring you back because this deserves to go deeper into the amazing. Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing. Rungs of disclosure. It's got all the information, and I apologize to your audience for basically plunging them in the deep end of the pool. But I only have a few minutes, so I've got to do that.
I get it. All right, L.A. Marzulli.
Thanks for having me on.
Back after this.